This is Kathy Boudin. Kathy is a professor at the Columbia School of Social Work in New York. She is a co-founder and co-director at the Center for Justice at Columbia University. Her work focuses on the causes and consequences of mass incarceration and the development of strategies to both transform the criminal justice system and to deal with the day-to-day damage the system has caused, with a focus on mother-child relationships across the separation of incarceration. These are issues that are very personal to Kathy, and they are near and dear to her cold, black heart. Kathy believes that this system must be reformed because when her son was only 14 months old, the system made her drop him off with a babysitter so that she could rob a Brinks armored car in Nanuet, New York. You see, Nancy was a radical communist revolutionary. She was part of the Weather Underground and the May 19th Communist Organization. In order to fund their terrorist activities, on October 20th, 1981, Kathy, along with her comrades David Gilbert, Judith Clark, and Marilyn Buck, joined with members of the Black Liberation Army to rob a Brinks truck outside of the Nanuet Mall and kill anyone that got in their way. After dropping off her infant son, Boudin, with some babysitters, Kathy took the wheel of the getaway vehicle, a U-Haul truck, and she waited in a nearby parking lot as her accomplices drove a red van to the Nanuet Mall where the Brinks truck was making a pickup. At 3:55 p.m., as two guards were loading bags of money from the mall into the Brinks truck, her accomplices pulled up and jumped out of their red van and opened fire without warning. They killed a man, Peter Page, a father of three. They nearly blew the arm off of the other guard, Joseph Trombino, and they also shot the driver. Trombino survived his injuries and continued to work for the Brinks Company for the next 20 years. He was almost killed in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and then he eventually was killed on September 11th, 2001, while making a delivery at the World Trade Center North Tower. After fleeing the scene, the robbers drove to a parking lot where Kathy and her May 19th friends were waiting in the U-Haul truck and a yellow Honda. They quickly threw the bags of money into the Honda and the U-Haul and sped away, but they were spotted by an alert college student who called the police. 4 officers, Edward O'Grady, Waverly Brown, Brian Lennon, and Artie Keenan, spotted and pulled over a U-Haul truck. They were unsure if it was the truck they were looking for. They were told they were looking for black men, and in the driver's seat was a white man, David Gilbert, Kathy's husband, and in the passenger seat sat Kathy Boudin. According to the surviving officers, Kathy Boudin, feigning innocence, pleaded with them to put down their guns and convinced them to drop their guards. After the police lowered their guns, 6 men armed with automatic weapons and wearing body armor emerged from the back of the truck and began firing on the 4 officers. They killed a black officer, Waverly Brown, a 15-year veteran of the Nyack PED. Instantly, he was also a father of 3. They killed Edward O'Grady, a Vietnam veteran, and also another father of 3. The murderous, radical, communist shitbags scattered. Some climbed into the yellow Honda, others carjacked a nearby motorist. Boudin attempted to flee on foot, but an off-duty corrections officer, Michael Koch, grabbed her by her stupid nappy hair and slammed her bitch ass down. When Kathy Boudin was arrested, she told them her name was Barbara Edson because she had been on the run since the 1970 townhouse explosion with the Weather Underground, and because she was a lying communist bitch that could not be trusted. The police chase was on after the yellow Honda and the carjacked vehicle. The carjacked vehicle managed to navigate a sharp turn, but the yellow Honda did not, and it skid off into a wall because Judith was a moron and she didn't know how to drive. And in the yellow Honda, the communists Gilbert, Brown, and Clark were all arrested. Nearly everyone involved was sentenced to 70 years to life, but not Kathy Boudin, because Kathy Boudin came from a long line of rich communists. You see, Kathy's father was a communist-loving lawyer. He represented wonderful clients like the Church of Scientology, Judith Kaplan, a dirty Russian spy, and the communist government of Cuba. Kathy, who was defended by her rich communist father's law partner, got herself a sweet plea deal, pled guilty to 1 count of felony murder, and was sentenced to 20 years to life. Everyone else was sentenced to 70 years to life. Judith, on the other hand, her sentence was commuted, and she was released last year. Thank you, Andrew Cuomo. So Kathy was released from prison on September 17, 2003. She ended up earning a doctorate in stupid communist bullshit. I mean education. That she uses to teach her children stupid communist bullshit for the low, low price of $61,788 per year. And for that modest sum, she will teach your children about the evils of the criminal justice system that took her from her son for 20 years. Because personal responsibility is not in the vocabulary of communist pieces of murderous shit. And to this day, she still advocates for the release of all of her fucking accomplices. She still advocates for criminal justice reform, speaks out on the evils of mass incarceration. She talks about how people should be able to go home and raise their kids. But she's never apologized to any of the 9 kids who grew up without their fathers because of what she did in 1981. I'd like to thank all my subscribers, supporters, and my friends that have encouraged me to make these videos. I'd also like to thank one friend in particular who splashed the proverbial water in my face a decade ago when I was walking down the horrible path that leads to Marxist insanity. Thanks for watching. This has been DWB, and remember, don't be a fucking commie.